Our boy LeBron James. It has not been a good summer for LeBron James. And he is just making it worse for himself. Clearly, he has learned nothing over the last year because he is not toning down the political rhetoric. He's doubling down. We'll get to that in just a minute. This summer has been one failure after the other for LeBron James. First, the Lakers were dominated in the playoffs by the Suns. They lacked any semblance of team unity. The Lakers were a complete mess all season. LeBron knows this, so he is falling back into his usual routine. God forbid he win a championship the right way, like Giannis and the Bucks just did. Nah, that's much too difficult. So LeBron is doing what he has done throughout his career. When he loses in the playoffs, he goes out and he gets help, forms another super team. We'll see if it works out this time. He is pushing to get Chris Paul to LA. I'm not sure that can happen. Chris Paul would have to walk away from $40 million. I don't care how much money you have in the bank. Walking away from $40 million, not an easy thing to do. Anyway, the Lakers are bounced early in the playoffs. Then LeBron's summer gets even worse. His heavily hyped Hollywood debut, Space Jam 2, flopped like an old fat woman's tits at the box office. To make matters worse, his friends in the woke media turned on him. The media buried the movie. Even the LA Times, which has coddled LeBron James for the last 3 years, even the LA Times blasted Space Jam 2. Not only did his hombres and the media turn on him, now we have evidence that some in his hometown aren't too fond of their hero. In his hometown of Akron, Ohio, there once was a mural of LeBron James painted on the side of a building. It featured him along with other characters from Space Jam 2. Bugs Bunny, the little yellow bird, I forget his name, Daffy Duck, you know what I'm talking about. LeBron's co-stars. The mural was painted by a young college student who is attending Kent State University. I actually do feel a little bit bad for her. She put a lot of work into this, but these are the kind of things that can happen when you support an SJW. And look, I don't condone vandalism, I don't. However, I do find it kind of ironic that the Wokers last summer vandalized every major city in the country. They burned buildings, stormed police precincts, took over parts of Seattle, turned it into one giant dump. But have someone vandalize a mural of their Lord and Savior, LeBron James, and it's time to call for justice. Someone, for the sake of the argument, we will call them an artist. Some artist assisted this young college student with her altar to LeBron James. This particular artist painted LA Flop over LeBron's face and added an accessory, a clown nose. Now, I'm not an expert in the world of art, but I'm going to give you my interpretation of this masterpiece in artistic expression anyway. LA Flop can mean any of a number of things. The artist obviously left this portion of the drawing open for interpretation. He could be referencing LeBron's habit of constantly complaining to officials in the NBA about fouls. He could be insinuating that LeBron has a tendency to flop on the defensive end. Or he could be talking about Space Jam 2, which flopped at the box office. The artist clearly put a lot of thought into this portion of his painting. Now, as for the clown nose, again, the artist leaves this open to interpretation. Take your pick. There are a bevy of arguments you can make of LeBron James being a clown. Why don't we start with his uninformed opinion on all things political, or his consistent desire to keep his name in the media, or his tendency to bow his knee to his masters in China, his hypocrisy of calling out human rights violations in the United States while ignoring real human rights violations in the motherland, China. The local media in Akron gave their theory as to why someone in LeBron's hometown would denigrate his image. The Akron Beacon Journal claims that citizens in Akron are still mad about LeBron leaving for Miami and Los Angeles. Yeah, that's it. That must be it. The city of Akron is 61% white. 54% of the state of Ohio voted Republican in the last election, 52% in 2016. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this vandalism had nothing to do with basketball, LeBron leaving Cleveland. Probably had a little bit to do with LeBron calling people racist for the last 3 years. But have no fear. Don't worry. The Akron Police Department, they're hot on the case. I'm sure they are. I am sure the Akron police are working around the clock to find the person who denigrated a mural of LeBron James. You know, the guy who is actively trying to turn Americans against the police. LeBron's political organization, More Than a Vote, they started a new campaign on Monday. This campaign follows another campaign they started in the spring, Protect Our Power, which fights the myth of voter suppression. I guess LeBron buys into the notion that black people lack the ability to operate a smartphone, find a DMV, and walk in the door to get an ID. That's a bit too hard for my people, so they shouldn't need an ID to vote. How nice of LeBron James. You would think that he would fight against an agenda that insults the intelligence of his community. But why let facts get in the way of what's really important here, promoting the agenda? This new campaign that he's starting is called Protect Our People. You might hear this name and think, okay, LeBron has finally come to his senses. He is starting a movement to protect his people from the nonstop violence in Chicago, or the nonstop violence in New York City, or the nonstop violence in Washington, D.C. All major cities where black people are being murdered every day. Not by the evil white man, but by each other. This would be a great thing. Kudos to LeBron James for paying attention to this important matter. But alas, we should all know better than that. Protect Our People isn't a movement to protect black people from the violence happening around them in the inner city. It's to protect them from public enemy number one, the biggest threat to the African American population ever. The police. The police. The police. Who are responsible for killing a grand total of 74 black people this year. We need to end this apartheid. This is the rise of the Third Reich. It's an epidemic. According to the latest data, there have been over 2,200 people shot and over 400 killed in Chicago this year. They have already surpassed the murder rate from 2020 in the span of 7 months. LeBron James, he's not worried about that though. He is more worried about stopping the police. I wonder if that's having an effect on the murder rate skyrocketing in Chicago and other major cities across the country. The wokers pushed to defund the police last year. All of a sudden, crime goes up in woke cities. Weird. That's strange. LeBron's company tweeted out the purpose of the Protect Our People movement. The tweet read, quote, "We can't lose the momentum of last summer. We need real solutions to stop police brutality," end quote. The campaign officially launched Monday night with a segment on The Shop, LeBron's show on HBO. The segment featured Jemele Hill, an expert on how to solve the epidemic of police brutality. Another hypocrite who doesn't mind using off-duty police officers as her private security, but doesn't think you have the right to be protected by the police. I found it kind of interesting. Jemele Hill hosts a podcast titled Jemele Hill is Unbothered, which is ironic when you think about it, since Jemele Hill is constantly whining and complaining, victimizing herself because of her struggle. Jemele Hill is bothered by everything. And I guess she realized that herself, because on The Shop, she wore a shirt that said, "I'm bothered," acknowledging the fact that she is indeed a blithering idiot. In another statement, LeBron's political organization said that the reason they continue to pursue activism is because 2020 proved when athletes speak out, people listen. That is absolutely true. Last summer, NBA players spoke out and America listened. America listened and promptly turned off the NBA. And now, America is no longer listening. All right, time to let me know what you think. Give me your thoughts on LeBron's mural in Akron being vandalized. Also, let me know what you think of him doubling down on the politics. Sound off on the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.